Oh, whoa, wait a minute. I appreciate the original, but this is mostly a metal channel, metal rock type channel. Kenny Loggins slightly sometimes qualifies in cases like this, but we need it. Like, this movie was a great update. I'm gonna say that. But you know what else is a good update? Heard of this no resolve and state of mind version. Hope Matty Gutter likes this one. Don't know his thoughts, but I found this interesting version. You know, I feel like it fits. I'm surprised they didn't decide to come up and use this version. They're like, nah. Tom Cruise is like, no, we're using the original. Fuck you. I'm good. But this one's, I mean, I wouldn't mind if this one wound up eventually like on the actual soundtrack as like an updated version. You know, that'd be great. Be great. I'm just saying. I don't know if you've heard of this version, but it's worth checking out. It's like, seriously, look it up. You're welcome. But anyways, Top Gun Maverick, guys. Yeah. Fucking-lutely. Everything that, you know, that it's been hyped up by, you know, big names, more so through, you know, the ones that we know of, even from Christian Harloff, who formerly of Schmoes Know. Yeah, well, basically what is Schmoes Know, essentially, which includes Mark Ellis, essentially said, fuck yes to this movie. On all of them. And I was kind of going in, I said for those who got to see my short I did the other day, yeah, slightly overhyped. Slightly. Not by much, though. Because it's still a great film. Everything that's been said, it lives up to it. But, you know, I had more fun, and I even know this from what was said from recently, having just watched, finally hearing the Top Gun spoilers thing through and Winston's said the same thing, to where it lived up to everything that even Harloff himself was preaching about this movie. But but he said he got more out of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So did I. But I feel like this is an easier to recommend to everyone movie than Everything Everywhere All at Once. I could see that being more niche, more film aficionado niche than I would, like myself, than I would say anything else. But I enjoyed this movie. Tom Cruise still killing it. I liked Miles Teller in this film. Think he was killing it as Rooster. And it's not too big of a spoiler, I guess, because, you know, it's in the credits. But even despite being mostly a love interest, but she did kind of work well. Jennifer Connelly worked well. Though you could tell she's sort of aging now all of a sudden, according to the way this film showcases. They didn't give her too much makeup, apparently. But that's kind of okay. She ages well. She's in that age where she can qualify as hot mom material. And technically, in this movie, she was a hot mom. She was in that Marissa Tomei category. The Tomei category she had been in the recent Spider-Man films. Won't blame Tom Cruise one bit. Plus, they're in the same age bracket, I think. So it works out fine. Technically both don't really look like they've aged that much. Or at least Tom Cruise don't, in comparison. But as she plays basically the character that was referenced in the first movie, Penny Benjamin. Or at least referenced via Goose, more so. Or at least we got some slight backstory of what we know she is, having been a former admiral's daughter. Or an admiral's daughter, or at least a former admiral. I'm not sure if the guy that was there, the old man, might have been her dad, which was the former admiral maybe, a retired admiral probably. I don't know. They never specified if he was the dad. But, which could be kind of a flaw, but there's not much, like... For what this is, it primarily does focus on Tom Cruise's Maverick. I mean, it's in the title of this movie, so I give them credit for that. But they didn't, and they could have tried to do a little bit more on the other characters, but the ones that mostly did get more development are usually the ones that would wind up with Tom Cruise to somewhere at a certain point. Well, I don't know how to do it without going into spoilers necessarily. Though if I do say something you need to know, that's... Before I get to truly spoiler territory, don't get too confused by the beginning of this movie. Because from what I hear it's no different necessarily from how it began the first movie. So don't get too confused. I mean, they at least show the title of Top Gun Maverick the title card of Top Gun Maverick before they get into all that stuff. That could kind of confuse you and make you think it's the same movie, even though there's things that clearly showcase its current day and not the graphics of back in the day in the 80s. So, just so you know. But yeah, they do that, and the Kenny Loggins version Danger Zone plays. It's like... which they had to do it, I guess, between that and the classic Top Gun theme. Score, at least, so... That's still there. If you did watch here's the thing. I haven't seen it, and even I could tell you, you don't necessarily have to. If you do, you will be way more rewarded, especially given how dated the first film is. This one is not, by any means, and it even goes as far as to make sure it doesn't date itself. And it's a possibility that this film could have turned out even better than what it actually is, had they had a chance to probably develop the other characters that are those that are being trained under those at Top Gun, being trained under him. And I like that he's somewhat matured in the sense that he actually does give a shit about the people in behind the scenes and the crew. They make up for a lot of stuff, and it surprisingly winds up being one of the best sequels since Rescues Down Under, which I can confirm that because I have seen the first Rescuers. I can't say I've seen either of them in a theater, but I can say I've seen them both. Both of those movies, I can confirm that. But anyways, and now we're going to get to spoilers somewhere in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right. Aside from the beginning, which I already talked about, we find out a little bit more about Rooster, and that he was essentially with the whole thing about Rooster. He acts pretty much like his dad up to a point, especially. And it turns out Miles Teller can more than just play drums. He can drums according to his time in Whiplash, which I think his performance in Whiplash is stronger than this performance, but it's still good. It's still good. It's just another good performance, I guess. Or just... Miles Teller could get an acting nom for this, probably. And I can say sound design will definitely get it. For sure. And maybe best practical effects. If they have a thing like that, because that's definitely going to be a thing with this film. Or best stunt work, which I guess you could count it since they're technically in the jet planes. The actual actors and everything. Which is something that wasn't the case in the first film, which goes to show he Basically, I think that Tom Cruise wanted to do so much, him in his current adrenaline junkie ways. He wanted to do this before he died. To finally be in a jet before he died, because he didn't get to in the first Top Gun. So why the heck not? And I think that what made it a little more authentic and probably even better of a movie. Because that's the one thing that happened in these films. These dogfights and everything are just as good, if not a step up from what they already were from what I heard about the first movie. So, and yeah, you're right. They don't make movies like this, you know. In the terms of blockbusters, this is great. And you get character development and stuff as well. I mean, it's not as nearly as much as Tom Cruise does get himself as Maverick, but everything else, the plot's moving forward, everything has a reason to be there compared to some of the things that happened in the first, especially that the football scenes that clearly replaced the volleyball scene, except the difference is it was actually meant to be a team building exercise, which was great. They did so many fake outs. Like Maverick dying would have been somewhat cathartic, and then instead of that, then Rooster comes in right when it seems like he was going to is he going to take out this helicopter pilot? This helicopter on his own somehow? Through some ridiculous means. Instead, it's Rooster coming in. It's like, the fuck, man? And it's like, why the fuck you come in? You thinking? You told me not to think. Which was fucking great. Just... It was a good moment, and just how to silence Maverick. Just you'll just see. But yeah, Rooster was nice. Phoenix is awesome. If you want some, this is awesome. So is Bob. Bob is great. Bob is awesome. Fuck it, it's Bob. Bob's great. You kind of get something out of him, or at least a little more out of him than most. It's like Hangman is just somehow a combination, a weird amalgamation of what we did get from the first film between Iceman. If somehow it turned out somehow you could make him a dude baby, given the way those guys were in that movie. Plus, speaking of that was actually one of the better things about this movie. They played into what happened with Kilmer's, Val Kilmer's situation with his throat cancer and his lack of speech. A lot in this movie. They played to it. And played to the point of his character actually dying. That's the only death that actually happened that kind of mattered in moving the plot forward, because technically Maverick's been stuck as a captain, still doing what he's been doing as Maverick for years, and Iceman's who has been up in power, has been the reason why he's still there. And now it's like, I love that they did that. Ed Harris is in this film. Obviously, I know someone named P with the letters P, L, and D that is probably very happy about this. I'm sure of it. And his character playing a sort of a part in how he's basically now, as a teacher, he's the one that's doing this. Plus, John Hamm is kind of like, basically, this is Tom Cruise just doing what he has to do to just dunk on everybody. Also, the guy that was helping him in the pilot, the plane that's going to Mach 10. Ooh. Yeah, this film, this was fun. It was a lot of fun. I do like some of the endings. The way they handled the plane thing. And plus, Iceman had a cool moment. They had a cool moment. And when Iceman even asked who's the better pilot, he's like, we had a great moment, don't ruin it. It's fucking... that was wonderful. And just, the relationship between Miles Teller's Rooster, is the son, the clearly prodigal son of Goose, and how Goose's death really did truly give a PTSD effect on him, and turns out the mother is dead, and he basically has his last wish was to keep him from having to go through the same fate as him. And at some point, Heyman was gonna come into play. So I love the dog fights between him and the enemy planes, and the enemy planes were starting to pull the same kind of shit. So it was almost like, oh boy. And to where this whole thing was it was more him trying to prove that the only way missions like this that were this impossible could happen is if there were more pilots that were like him and not these more AI things that were going to become the thing of the future where pilots would be obsolete. And I love how Maverick does what he does for Top Gun to kind of go against and prove Ed Harris's character wrong. Whether or not that matters because he's not in the film after this, but he does in turn prove John Hamm wrong about how to handle things and how he's doing things. And even they were like, what the fuck, when it came to how he was. And so he basically took his own risk and basically went through the entire thing proving that it can be done. And even proving it by doing it in less time than what was initially. So yeah, it was, and it was. You could think it almost would have been Cobra, the bad guys, but the way they looked, the jets and everything. At least you could kind of tell the difference of what jets were what. And plus, it was a specific type of jet that he hadn't used in a while, so it was kind of funny in that and cathartic in that regard. It had the more happier ending, but it needed to happen, I guess, because I'm not sure anybody could have taken another death, especially after another death in the battlefield, I guess, because his whole point was to try to prevent any of them dying, and I guess in that regard he succeeded, and everyone got to make it. It wasn't like what happened with Goose. He didn't want that to happen, so yeah. And it worked. It just worked. Everything worked. It was still intense, even with the multiple forms of fake outs that were going on in this movie. Oh, and the jet fights were great. There's some decent dialogue, some good, pretty fun dialogue here and there. The callback to in the bar, the whole bar thing was funny. And how he's just schooling these kids was funny. But I liked it. Everyone got a decent amount of development. Not too many, but the ones that needed to matter the most, they did, especially Rooster. I mean, I get it didn't make sense because of Heyman, but Heyman's kind of attitude-wise was a bit of a problem. He had to be backup, and his backup worked, so it wasn't too bad. He got to have a moment to shine that he needed to. Between him and Goose, I guess. But overall, I didn't get a chance to score this before I did my spoilers thing, but Horns, it does deserve a horns up and some form of masterclass certification. Yeah, that's kind of it. What did you guys think of this movie? Did you guys like it? Did you think it was overhyped? Did it live to the hype? Did you think, in my case, kind of both? Because there's no way you didn't like this. If you didn't like this at all, I don't even know what to tell you. Because I think anybody liked this movie. Anybody, and there's some things about it that might be up for Academy Awards. Or at least more likely to, compared to some other films that are going to be blockbusters this year, especially Thor: Love and Thunder, which I eventually will be seeing. But regardless of that, and plus now people are hyped for the new Mission Impossible, which they're splitting into 2 parts. Not sure on that. I think that has something to do with how the things have been with the studio, and I think that they could only afford to release one part of one part and then release the other later. once it's fully finished, I guess. Those parts from that film. I don't know. But it does have me curious a bit how this film's going to go leading into part 2. And if that's going to be it for the Mission Impossible series, I don't know. But anyways, what did you guys think of Top Gun Maverick? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I don't know why you wouldn't like it. But if you didn't for some reason, tell me why. Leave a comment below, let me know. How much on either side. Yeah, as always, guys, keep it random. Keep it random. Keep it real. Keep it rocking. I will see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Take care of y'all. I feel the need for speed.